Chapter 3 Drainage System. You have observed water flowing through the rivers, nalas, and even channels during rainy season, which drain the excess water. Had these channels not been there, large scale flooding would have occurred. Wherever channels are ill defined or choked, flooding is a common phenomenon. The flow of water through well defined channels is known as drainage, and the network of such channels is called a drainage system. The drainage pattern of an area is the outcome of the geological time period, nature and structure of rocks, topography, slope, amount of water flowing, and the periodicity of the flow. Do you have a river near your village or city? Have you ever been there for boating or bathing? Is it perennial, always with water, or ephemeral water during rainy season and dry otherwise? Do you know that rivers flow in the same direction? You have studied about slopes in the other two textbooks of geography in this class. Can you then explain the reason for water flowing from one direction to the other? Why do the rivers originating from the Himalayas in the northern India and the Western Ghat in the southern India flow towards the east and discharge their waters in the Bay of Bengal? A river drains the water collected from a specific area, which is called its catchment area. An area drained by a river and its tributaries is called a drainage basin. The boundary line separating one drainage basin from the other is known as the watershed. The catchments of large rivers are called river basins, while those of small rivulets and rills are often referred to as watersheds. There is, however, a slight difference between a river basin and a watershed. Watersheds are small in area, while the basins cover larger areas. River basins and watersheds are marked by unity. What happens in one part of the basin or watershed directly affects the other parts and the unit as a whole. That is why they are accepted as the most appropriate micro, meso, or macro planning regions. Indian drainage system may be divided on various bases. On the basis of discharge of water orientations to the sea, it may be grouped into first the Arabian Sea drainage and two the Bay of Bengal drainage. They are separated from each other through the Delhi Ridge, the Aravalis, and the Sahyadris. Water divide is shown by a line. Nearly 77% of the drainage area consisting of the Ganga, the Brahmaputra, the Mahanadi, the Krishna, etc., is oriented towards the Bay of Bengal, while 23% comprising the Indus, the Narmada, the Tapi, and the Mahi, and the Peria systems discharge their waters in the Arabian Sea. On the basis of the size of the watershed, the drainage basins of India are grouped into three categories. First, major river basins with more than 20,000 square kilometer of catchment area. It includes 14 drainage basins such as the Ganga, the Brahmaputra, the Krishna, the Tapi, the Narmada, the Mahi, the Pennar, the Sabarmati, the Barak, etc. Two medium river basins with catchment area between 2,000 to 20,000 square kilometer, incorporating 44 river basins such as the Kalindi, the Periyar, the Meghna, etc. Third, minor river basins with the catchment area of less than 2,000 square kilometer include fairly good number of rivers flowing in the area of low rainfall. If you look at figure 3.1, you can see that many rivers have their sources in the Himalayas and discharge their waters either in the Bay of Bengal or in the Arabian Sea. Identify these rivers of North India. Large rivers flowing on the peninsular plateau have their origin in the Western Ghats and discharge their waters in the Bay of Bengal. The Narmada and Tapi are two large rivers which are exceptions. They, along with many small rivers, discharge their waters in the Arabian Sea. On the basis of the mode of origin, nature, and characteristics, the Indian drainage may also be classified into the Himalayan drainage and the peninsular drainage. Although it has the problem of including the Chambal, the Betwa, the Sun, etc., which are much older in age and origin than other rivers that have their origin in the Himalayas. It is the most accepted basis of classification. Hence, this scheme has been followed in this book. Drainage, important drainage patterns. First, the drainage pattern resembling the branches of a tree is known as dendritic, the examples of which are the rivers of northern plain. 2. When the rivers originate from a hill and flow in all directions, the drainage pattern is known as radial. The rivers originating from the Amarkantak range present a good example of it. Third, when the primary tributaries of rivers flow parallel to each other and secondary tributaries join them at right angles, the pattern is known as trellis. Fourth, when the rivers discharge their waters from all directions in a lake or depression, the pattern is known as centripetal. Drainage systems of India. Indian drainage system consists of a large number of small and big rivers. It is the outcome of the evolutionary process of the three major physiographic units and the nature and characteristics of precipitation. The Himalayan drainage. The Himalayan drainage system has evolved through a long geological history. It mainly includes the Ganga, the Indus, and the Brahmaputra river basins. Since these are fed both by melting of snow and precipitation, rivers of this system are perennial. These rivers pass through the giant gorges carved out by the erosional activity, carried on simultaneously with the uplift of the Himalayas. Besides steep gorges, these rivers also form V-shaped valleys, rapids, and waterfalls in their course. In their mountainous course, while entering the plains, they form depositional features like flat valleys, oxbow, lakes, floodplains, braided channels, and deltas near the river mouth. In the Himalayan reaches, the course of these rivers is highly tortuous, but over the plains they display a strong meandering tendency and shift their courses frequently. River Kosi, also known as the Sorrow of Bihar, has been notorious for frequently changing its course. The Kosi brings huge quantity of sediments from its upper reaches and deposits it in the plains. The course gets blocked and consequently the river changes its course. Why does the Kosi River bring such huge quantity of sediments from the upper reaches? Do you think that the discharge of the water in the rivers in general and the Kosi in particular remains the same, or does it fluctuate? When does the river course receive the maximum quantity of water? What are the positive and negative effects of flooding? Evolution of the Himalayan drainage. There are difference of opinion about the evolution of the Himalayan rivers. However, geologists believe that a mighty river called Shivalik or Indo-Brahma traversed the entire longitudinal extent of the Himalaya from Assam to Punjab and onwards to Sindh, and finally discharged into the Gulf of Sindh near lower Punjab during the Miocene period some 5 to 24 million years ago. The remarkable continuity of the Shivalik and its lacustrine origin and alluvial deposits consists of sands, silt, clay boulders, and conglomerates supports this viewpoint. It is opined that in due course of time, Indo-Brahma River was dismembered into three main drainage systems. First, the Indus and its five tributaries in the western part. Second, the Ganga and its Himalayan tributaries in the central part. And three, the stretch of the Brahmaputra in Assam and its Himalayan tributaries in the eastern part. The dismemberment was probably due to the Pleistocene upheaval in the western Himalayas, including the uplift of the Potwar Plateau Delhi Ridge, which acted as the water divide between the Indus and Ganga drainage systems. Likewise, the downthrusting of the Malda Gap area between the Rajmahal Hills and the Meghalaya Plateau during the mid Pleistocene period diverted the Ganga and the Brahmaputra systems to flow towards the Bay of Bengal. The river systems of the Himalayan drainage. The Himalayan drainage consists of several river systems, but the following are the major river systems. The Indus system, which is one of the largest river basins of the world, covering an area of 11,65,000 square kilometer. In India, it is 3,21,289 square kilometer and a total length of 2,880 kilometer in India, 1,114 kilometer. The Indus, also known as the Sindhu, is the westernmost of the Himalayan rivers in India. It originates from a glacier near Bokhara to 31° 15' north latitude and 81° 40' east longitude in the Tibetan region at an altitude of 4,164 meters in the Kailash mountain range. In Tibet, it is known as Singi Khamban or Lion's Mouth. After flowing in the northwest direction between the Ladakh and Zanskar ranges, it passes through Ladakh and Baltistan. It cuts across the Ladakh range, forming a spectacular gorge near Gilgit in Jammu and Kashmir. It enters into Pakistan near Chilas in the Dardistan region. The Indus receives a number of Himalayan tributaries such as the Shyok, the Gilgit, the Zanskar, the Hunza, the Nubra, the Shigar, the Gasting, and the Dras. It finally emerges out of the hills near Attock, where it receives the Kabul River on its right bank. The other important tributaries joining the right bank of the Indus are the Khurram, the Tochi, the Komal, the Viboa, and the Sangar. They all originate in the Sulaiman Ranges. The river flows southward and receives Panjnath a little above Mithankot. The Panjnath is the name given to the five rivers of Punjab, namely the Satluj, the Beas, the Ravi, and the Chenab and the Jhelum. It finally discharges into the Arabian Sea east of Karachi. The Indus flows in India only through Jammu and Kashmir. The Jhelum, an important tributary of the Indus, rises from a spring at Verinax situated at the foot of the Pir Panjal in the southeastern part of the valley of Kashmir. It flows through Srinagar and the Vular Lake before entering Pakistan through a deep narrow gorge. It joins the Chenab near Jhang in Pakistan. The Chenab is the largest tributary of the Indus. It is formed by two streams, the Chandra and the Bhaga, which join at Tandi near Keelong in Himachal Pradesh. Hence, it is also known as Chandrabhaga. The river flows for 1180 km before entering into Pakistan. The river is another important tributary of the Indus. It rises west of the Rohtang Pass in the Kullu hills of Himachal Pradesh and flows through the Chamba valley of the state. Before entering Pakistan and joining the Chenab near Sarai Sidhu, it drains the area lying between the southeastern part of the Pir Panjal and the Dhauladhar ranges. The Beas is another important tributary of the Indus, originating from the Beas Kund near the Rohtang Pass at an elevation of 4,000 meters above the mean sea level. The river flows through the Kullu Valley and forms gorges at Kati and Lagi in the Dhauladhar range. It enters the Punjab plains where it meets the Satluj near Harikip. The Satluj originates in the Raksas Tal near Mansarovar at an altitude of 4,555 meters in Tibet, Lunch, where it is known as Langchen Khambab. It flows almost parallel to the Indus for about 400 kilometers before entering India and comes out of a gorge at Tupar. It passes through the Shipki La on the Himalayan ranges and enters the Punjab plains. It is an antecedent river. It is a very important tributary as it feeds the canal system of the Bhakra Nangal project. The Ganga system. The Ganga is the most important river of India, both from the point of view of its basin and cultural significance. It rises in the Gangotri Glacier near Gaumukh, 3,900 meters in the Uttarkashi district of Uttarakhand. Here it is known as the Bhagirathi. It cuts through the central and the lesser Himalayas in narrow gorges at Devriyag. The Bhagirathi meets the Alaknanda. Hereafter, it is known as the Ganga. The Alaknanda has its source in the Satopant glacier above Badrinath. The Alaknanda consists of the Dhauli and the Vishnu Ganga, which meets at Joshimath or Vishnu Prayag. The other tributaries of Alaknanda, such as the Pindar, joins it at Karnaprayag, while Mandakini or Kali Ganga meets it at Rudraprayag. The Ganga enters the plains at Haridwar. From here, it flows first to the south, then to the southeast and east before splitting into two tributaries, namely the Bhagirathi and the Padma. The river has a length of 2,525 km. It is shared by Uttarakhand 110 km and Uttar Pradesh 1,450 km, Bihar 445 km, and West Bengal 520 km. The Ganga basin covers about 8.6 lakh square kilometer area in India alone. The Ganga river system is the largest in India, having a number of perennial and non-perennial rivers originating in the Himalayas in the north and the peninsula in the south respectively. The Sun is its major right bank tributary. The important left bank tributaries are the Ram Ganga, the Gomati, the Ghagra, the Gandak, the Kosi, and the Mahananda. The river finally discharges itself into the Bay of Bengal near the Sagar Islands. The Yamuna, the westernmost and the longest tributary of the Ganga, has its source in the Yamunotri Glacier on the western slopes of Bander Panch Range. 6,316 km. It joins the Ganga at Prayag, Allahabad. It is joined by the Chambal, the Sindh, the Betwa, and the Kane on its right bank, which originates from the peninsular plateau, while the Hindan, the Rind, the Sengar, the Varuna, etc., join it on its left bank. Much of its water feeds the western eastern Yamuna and the Agra canals for irrigation purposes. The Chambal rises near Mho in the Malwa plateau of Madhya Pradesh and flows northwards gorge upwards of through a gorge upwards of Kota in Rajasthan, where the Gandhi Sagar Dam has been constructed. From Kota, it traverses down to Bundi, Savai Madhopur, and Dholpur, and finally joins the Yamuna. The Chambal is famous for its wetland topography called the Chambal ravines. The Ganda comprises two streams, namely Kali Gandak and Trishul Ganga. It rises in the Nepal Himalayas between the Dhaulagiri and Mount Everest and drains the central part of Nepal. It enters the Ganga plain in Champaran district of Bihar and joins the Ganga at Sonpur near Patna. The Ghagra originates in the glaciers of Mapchachungo after collecting the waters of its tributaries Tila, Seti, and Beri. It comes out of the mountain, cutting a deep gorge at Shishapatpani. The river, the river Sarda, Kali or Kali Ganga, joins it in the plain before it finally meets the Ganga at Chhapra. The Kosi is an antecedent river with its source to the north of Mount Everest in Tibet, where its main stream Arun rises. After crossing the central Himalayas in Nepal, it is joined by the Sun Kosi from the west and the Tamur Kosi from the east. It forms Sapt Koshi after uniting with the river Arun. The Ram Ganga is comparatively a small river rising in the Garhwal hills near Sain. It changes its course to the southwest direction after crossing the Shivalik and enters into the plains of Uttar Pradesh near Naji Najibabad. Finally, it joins the Ganga near Kannauj. The Damodar occupies the eastern margins of the Chota Nagpur plateau where it flows through a rift valley and finally joins the Hooghly. The Barakar is its main tributary, once known as the Sorrow of Bengal. The Damodar has been now tamed by the Damodar Valley Corporation, a multi-purpose project. The Sarda or Saryu River rises in the Milan Glacier in the Nepal Himalayas where it is known as the Gauri Ganga. Along the Indo-Nepal border, it is called Kali or Chowk, where it joins the Ghagra. The Mahananda is another important tributary of the Ganga, rising in the Darjeeling Hills. It joins the Ganga as its last left bank tributary in West Bengal. The Sun is a large south bank tributary of the Gangas originating in the Amarkantak plateau. After forming a series of waterfalls at the edge of the plateau, it reaches Arra west of Patna to join the Ganga. The Brahmaputra, one of the largest rivers of the world, has its origin in the Chema Yung Dung glacier of the Kailash range near the Mansarovar lake. From here, it traverses eastward longitudinally for a distance of nearly 1,200 km in a dry and flat region of southern Tibet, where it is known as the Tsangpo, which means the purifier. The Rango Sangpo is the major right bank tributary of this river in Tibet. It emerges as a turbulent and dynamic river after carving out a deep gorge in the central Himalayas near Namcha Barwa, 7,755 meter. The river emerges from the foothills under the name of Siang or the Hang. It enters India west of Sadia town in Arunachal Pradesh. Flowing southwest, it receives its main left bank tributaries with Dibang or Sikang and Lohit. Thereafter, it is known as the Brahmaputra. The Brahmaputra receives numerous tributaries in its 750-kilometer long journey through the Assam Valley. Its major left bank tributaries are the Burhi, Dihing, and Dhansari South, whereas the important right bank tributaries are the Suban, Siri, Kameng, Manas, and Sankosh. The Subansiri, which has its origin in Tibet, is an antecedent river. The Brahmaputra enters into Bangladesh near Dhubri and flows southward. In, in Bangladesh, the Tista joins it on its right bank, from where the river is known as the Jamuna. It finally merges with the river Padma, which falls in the Bay of Bengal. The Brahmaputra is well known for floods, channel shifting, and bank erosion. This is due to the fact that most of its tributaries are large and bring large quantity of sediments owing to heavy rainfall in its catchment area. The peninsular drainage system. The peninsular drainage system is older than the Himalayan one. This is evident from the broad, largely graded shallow valleys and the maturity of the rivers. The western Ghats running close to the western coast act as the water divide between the major peninsular rivers, discharging their water in the Bay of Bengal and as small rivulets joining the Arabian Sea. Most of the major peninsular rivers, except Narmada and Tapi, flow from west to east. The Chambal, the Sindh, the Betwa, the Kain, the Son originating in the northern part of the peninsula belong to the Ganga river system. The other major river systems of the peninsular drainage are the Mahanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna, and the Kaveri. Peninsular rivers are characterized by fixed course, absence of meanders, and non-perennial flow of water. The Narmada and the Tapi, which flow through the Rift Valley, are, however, exceptions. The evolution of peninsular drainage system. Three major geological events in the distant past have shaped the present drainage systems of peninsular India. First, subsidence of the western flank of the peninsula leading to its submergence below the sea during the early tertiary period. Generally, it has disturbed the symmetrical plan of the river on either side of the original watershed. 2. The upheaval of the Himalayas when the northern flank of the peninsular block was subjected to subsidence and the consequent trough faulting. The Narmada and the Tapi flow in trough falls and fill the original cracks with their detritus materials, hence there is a lack of alluvial and deltaic deposits in these rivers. Third, slight tilting of the peninsular block from northwest to the southeastern direction gave orientation to the entire drainage system towards the Bay of Bengal during the same period. River systems of the peninsular drainage. There are a large number of river systems in the peninsular drainage. A brief account of the major peninsular river systems is given, such as the Mahanadi rises near Shivaha, the Mahanadi rises near Shihava in Raipur district of Chhattisgarh and runs through Orissa to discharge its water into the Bay of Bengal. It is 851 km long and its catchment area spreads over 1.42 lakh square kilometers. Some navigation is carried on in the lower course of this river. 53% of the drainage basin of this river lies in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, while 47% lies in Odisha. The Godavari is the largest peninsular river system. It is also called the Dakshin Ganga. It rises in the Nasik district of Maharashtra and discharges its water into the Bay of Bengal. Its tributaries run through the states of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, and Andhra Pradesh. It is 1,465 km long with a catchment area spreading over 3.13 lakh square kilometer. 49% of this lies in Maharashtra, 20% in Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh, and the rest in Andhra Pradesh. The Pen Ganga, the Indravati, the Paranhita, and the Manjra are its principal tributaries. The Godavari is subjected to heavy floods in its lower reaches to the south of Polavaram, where it forms a picturesque gorge. It is navigable only in the deltaic stretch. The river after Rajamundry splits into several branches, forming a large delta. The Krishna is the second largest east flowing peninsular river, which rises near Mahabaleshwar in Sahyadri. Its total length is 1,401 km. The Koina, the Tungabhadra, and Bhima are its major tributaries of the total catchment area of the Krishna. 27% lies in Maharashtra, 44% in Karnataka, and 29% in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. The Kaveri rises in Brahmagiri Hills, 1,341 meter of Kogadu district in Karnataka. Its length is 800 km and it drains an area of 81,155 square kilometers. Since the upper catchment area receives rainfall during the southwest monsoon season summer and the lower part during the northeast monsoon season winter, the river carries water throughout the year with comparatively less fluctuation than the other peninsular rivers. About 3% of the Kaveri basin falls in Kerala, 41% in Karnataka, and 56% in Tamil Nadu. Its important tributaries are the Kabini, the Bhavani, and the Amravati. The Narmada originates on the western flank of the Amarkantak plateau at a height of about 1057 meter, flowing in a rift valley between the Satpura in the south and the Vandhyan range in the north. It forms a picturesque gorge in marble rocks and Thuandar waterfall near Jabalpur. After flowing a distance of about 1,312 km, it meets the Arabian Sea south of Bharuch, forming a broad 27-km long estuary. Its catchment area is about 98,796 square kilometer. The Sardar Sarovar project has been constructed on this river. The Tapi is the other important westward flowing river. It originates from Multai in the Betul district of Madhya Pradesh. It is 724 km long and drains an area of 65,145 square kilometer. Nearly 79% of its basin lies in Maharashtra, 15% in Madhya Pradesh, and the remaining 6% in Gujarat. Luni is the largest river system of Rajasthan. West of Aravali, it originates near Pushkar in two branches, that is the Saraswati and the Sabarmati, which join with each other at Govindgarh. From here the river from here the from here the river comes out of Aravali and is known as Luni. It flows towards the west till Telvara and then takes a southwest direction to join the Ran of Kutch. The entire river system is ephemeral. Smaller rivers flowing towards the west. The rivers flowing towards the Arabian Sea have short courses. The Ch-3 is one such river which rises near the Kahwa in Amreli district. The Bhadra originates near Aniyali village in Rajkot district. The Dhadar rises near Khantar village in Panchmahal district. Sabarmati and Mahi are the two famous rivers of Gujarat. The Vaitana rises from the Trimbak hills in Nasik district at an elevation of 670 meters. The Kali Nadi rises from Belgaum district and falls in the Karwar Bay. The source of Bedati river lies in Hubli Dharwar and traverses a course of 161 km. The Sharavati is another important river in Karnataka flowing towards the west. The Sharavati originates in Shimoga district of Karnataka and drains a catchment area of 2209 square kilometer. Goa has two important rivers which can be mentioned here. One is Mandovi and the other is Juari. Kerala has a narrow coastline. The longest river of Kerala, Bharathappuzha, rises near Annamalai Hills. It is also known as Ponnani Drains. It drains an area of 5,397 square kilometer. The Periyar is the second largest river of Kerala. Its catchment area is 5,243 square kilometer. You can see that there is a marginal difference in the catchment area of the Parthapuza and the Periyar rivers. Another river of Kerala worth mentioning is the Pamba river, which falls in the Banad lake after traversing a course of 177 km. River and catchment area square kilometer are Sabarmati 21,674, Mahi 34,842, Dhandhar 2,770, Kali Nadi 5,179, Sharavati 2,029, Bharathapuza 5,397, Periyar 5,243. Small rivers flowing towards the east. There are a large number of rivers flowing towards the east along with their tributaries. There are small rivers which join the Bay of Bengal. Though small, these are important in their own right. The Subarnarekha, the Baitarni, the Brahmani, the Sadhara, the Pennar, the Palar, and the Vaigai are important rivers. Rivers, river regimes. Do you know that the quantity of water flowing in a river channel is not the same throughout the year? It varies from season to season. In which season do you expect the maximum flow in Ganga and Kaveri? The pattern of flow of water in a river channel over a year is known as its regime. The North Indian rivers originating from the Himalayas are perennial as they are fed by glaciers through snow melt and also receive rainfall water during rainy season. The rivers of South India do not originate from glaciers and their flow pattern witnesses fluctuations. The flow increases considerably during monsoon rains. Thus, the regime of the rivers of South India is controlled by rainfall, which also varies from one part of the peninsular plateau to the other. Comparison between the Himalayan and the peninsular river. First aspects is place of origin. Himalayan river, Himalayan mountain covered with glaciers, peninsular river, peninsular plateau and height and central highland. Second is nature of flow. Himalayan river is perennial, receive water from glaciers and rainfall seasonal dependent on monsoon rainfall. Third is type of drainage. Himalayan river is antecedent and consequent leading to dendritic pattern in plains. Peninsular river superimposed rejuvenated resulting in trellis, radial and rectangular patterns. Fourth is nature of river. long course flowing through the rugged mountains, experiencing headward erosion and river capturing in plains and meandering and shifting of course. Smaller, fixed course with well adjusted valleys. 5. Aspectus catchment area. Himalayan river in this is very large basins. Peninsular river is relatively smaller basin. Sixth is age of the river, young and youthful, active and deepening in the valleys. Old rivers with graded profile and have almost reached their base levels. The discharge is the volume of water. The discharge is the volume of water flowing in a river measured over time. It is measured either in Q6 cubic feet per second or Qmax cubic meters per second. The Ganga has its minimum flow during the January-June period. The maximum flow is attained either in August or in September. After September, there is a steady fall in the flow. The river thus has a monsoon regime during the rainy season. There are striking differences in the river regimes in the eastern and the western parts of the Ganga basin. The Ganga maintains a sizable flow in the early part of summer due to snow melt before the monsoon rains begins. The mean maximum discharge of the Ganga at Farakka is about 55,000 cusecs, while the mean minimum is only 1,300 cusecs. The two peninsular rivers display interesting differences in their regimes compared to the Himalayan rivers. The Narmada has a very low volume of discharge from January to July, but it suddenly rises in August when the maximum flow is attained. The fall in October is as spectacular as the rise in August. The flow of water in the Narmada as recorded at Guru Teshwar shows that the maximum flow is of the order of 2300 cusecs, while the minimum flow is only 15 cusecs. The Godavari has the minimum discharge in May and the maximum in July August. After August, there is a sharp fall in water flow, although the volume of flow in October and November is higher than that in any of the months from January to May. The mean maximum discharge of the Godavari at Pola Varam is 3200 cusecs, while the mean minimum flow is only 50 cusecs. These figures give an idea of the regime of the river. Extent of usability of river water. The rivers of India carry huge volumes of water per year, but it is unevenly distributed both in time and space. There are perennial rivers carrying water throughout the year, while the non-perennial rivers have very little water during the dry season. During the rainy season, much of the water is what's wasted in floods and flows down to the sea. Similarly, when there is a flood in one part of the country, the other area suffers from drought. Why does this happen? Is it the problem of availability of water resource or that of its management? Most of the cremation grounds are on the banks of rivers, and the dead bodies are sometimes thrown in the rivers. On the occasion of some festivals, the flowers and statues are immersed in the rivers. Large scale bathing and washing of clothes also pollute river waters. How can the rivers be made pollution free? Thank